It's the busy 129th Street, where a flurry of activity surrounds various undercover police vehicles parked haphazardly along the road. All cars are in active states, engines humming, offering an eerie backdrop to the scenario unfolding.
Here we have an interesting scenario on 129th Street. We've got multiple undercover police vehicles with regular license plates on it.
There's a peculiar focus on the different undercover police cars, each bearing regular license plates, their official statuses betrayed only by the presence of police laptops and specialized equipment visible through the tinted windows.
See, notice the police laptop in that one.
An unusual element is the fake license plate tag on one of the cars, raising questions and deepening the mystery.
Again, this one's got a fake license plate tag on it, darked out windows, but it too is also running.
We also see a police pickup truck, engine idling, and officers inside, adding to the rather conspicuous collection of undercover police vehicles. The vehicles surround a particular house on the street, the evident focus of the covert police presence. Among these vehicles, one stands out. It doesn't seem to be a police vehicle, but the occupant inside is filming the scene, a peaceful, lawful act protected by the First Amendment.
Pickup truck, also running, and again with police inside the vehicles. Just all the undercover police cars. Police sheriffs at this house, undercover. And this one here does not look like a police vehicle.
Suddenly, a conversation ensues. The person filming refuses to identify themselves, insisting they have every right to walk on a public street. This comes amid arguments about whether the area counts as a sidewalk or not, and whether the filmer is causing an obstruction. The filmer asserts their rights, maintaining they've committed no crime, therefore have no obligation to show their ID.
This one here does not look like a police vehicle.
What exactly are you doing? Curious.
Taking video. It's a First Amendment protected activity.
What's that?
It's a First Amendment protected activity.
Hey, sir. You know what else has that? ID on you?
I don't need ID.
Yes, you do need ID.
Oh, no, I don't need ID.
If you're coming into the middle of our investigation, you do.
Actually, this is the middle of the street, and I'm
And
walking
you're
on a
not
public
supposed
street.
to be in the middle of the street, so that's a violation.
Actually, there's no sidewalks here, so it's not.
You cannot be in the middle of the street.
Well, you notice you're blocking the way on the side of the street.
All right, let me get a pad. You have ID at all?
I don't have to show ID. I have not committed a crime.
Did you drive?
They insist they didn't drive to the location, denying claims of blocking the side of the road, despite the rows of police cars suggesting a substantial barrier. The tension escalates, their stubborn refusal to ID themselves clashing with the police's demand for identification. Despite being challenged on their rights under the Florida statutes, the filmer sticks to their assertion that Florida isn't an ID upon demand state. A critical question punctuates the heated exchange. Am I being detained? Hinting at a potential escalation of this confrontation.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
Under Florida statutes, we're not an ID upon demand state. Am I being detained?
The police, on the other hand, deflect, indicating the clutter of cars as a potential issue. The scene, laden with uncertainty and tension, paints a stark picture of confrontation between an individual asserting their rights and the police trying to impose authority. The exchange between the filmer and the police intensifies. The individual behind the camera, continuing to assert their rights, questions the officer, asking them to identify themselves.
You need to walk on the street, right? You can't just walk down the middle.
Well, when you have all the cars blocking the side of the road, it makes it kind of difficult.
Okay, well, guess what, Perry Mason? Since you're so good on the
What's-
First
are you a
Amendment and the
police officer?
Constitution and all that,
I'm asking you to
read the
identify yourself.
statutes. Excuse me?
I'm asking you to identify yourself. Are you a police officer?
The officer confirms they are indeed a police officer, but hesitates when asked for their name and badge number, further adding to the strained interaction. This hesitation prompts the filmer to press further. They question whether the officer is part of the Pinellas County Sheriff Department.
I'm asking you to identify yourself. Are you a police officer?
Yes, I am.
Can you please give me your name and badge number?
No.
Are you refusing to identify yourself?
What, is there a Florida state statute that says I must?
I think it's are you a Pinellas County Sheriff?
Yes, I am.
Upon receiving affirmation, They point out a supposed regulation that requires officers to identify themselves upon a citizen's request. They indicate a possible intention to lodge a complaint against the officer, further complicating the already tense situation.
Well, isn't it a Pinellas County Sheriff General Order that when a citizen asks you to identify yourself as an officer, what if I want to file a complaint against you? How am I supposed to be able to do that?
Then you'll get it.
How am I supposed to file a complaint against you?
Okay. What do you want to file a complaint for?
Eventually, the officer reluctantly agrees to reveal their identification, only if a complaint is to be lodged. But even as the filmer insists on receiving this information, the officer attempts to sidetrack the conversation, creating more friction between the two parties. Their conversation veers into the argument about blocking the street again. Both parties remain staunch in their perspectives, the officer maintaining that the street isn't blocked while the filmer insists the contrary. The filmer argues that the police vehicles are obstructing the pathway on the side of the street, making it challenging for others to navigate. The filmer goes on to accuse the Pinellas County Sheriff Department
The pathway on the side of the road. This is the intimidation that the Pinellas County Sheriff's trying to use if you exercise your First Amendment activity. They surround you, accuse you of crimes, refuse to identify themselves, intimidate yourself. Why aren't you continuing with your investigation? Why are you out here bothering me? I walk by with my camera, videotape.
You committed a civil infraction in front of me. You got a problem with that?
There was no civil infraction. You're blocking the road.
Using intimidation tactics against those exercising their First Amendment rights. They claim the police encircle citizens, accuse them of crimes, refuse to identify themselves, and intimidate those exercising their rights. The filmer's frustration is palpable as they question the officers, asking why they aren't continuing with their investigation instead of bothering them. The reason, according to the police, is that the filmer committed a civil infraction. But the filmer refutes this, adamantly denying that they're blocking the road and thus committing no civil infraction. The tension between the filmer and the police officers continues to rise, leaving an unresolved dispute on the streets of Pinellas County. The heated debate continues, centered on whether the side of the road is indeed blocked, and if this constitutes a pedestrian violation given there are no sidewalks. The filmer, confident in their assertion, sarcastically refers to the officer as an expert, implying the officer is mistaken about the pedestrian laws. The filmer questions the officer's actions after 20 years in service, challenging whether it's necessary to bother people walking by, instead of focusing on the police investigation. Despite the officer's insistence that the street is not blocked, the filmer firmly holds their ground, repeatedly asserting that the side of the road is indeed blocked, creating a stalemate in their argument. Then the officer suggests the filmer shine their phone in a specific direction. The officer insists the street isn't blocked, as the filmer had just walked through the area. The filmer, however, remains resolute, arguing that the side of the street is indeed blocked, despite there being no sidewalks present. The officer attempts to redirect the conversation, asserting that they're working on an investigation that the filmer is impeding. In response, the filmer argues that they are merely exercising their First Amendment rights by walking down the street. The officer repeatedly tries to change the topic, but the filmer appears uninterested in continuing the conversation. After the terse exchange, the officer seems to disengage, asking if the filmer wishes to discuss anything else. The filmer, however, responds with frustration, stating they didn't want to converse with the officers in the first place and now wishes to leave. However, the filmer remains confused about the boundaries of the investigation. They question where the blue line of the investigation is, suggesting that it is unclear where they can and cannot walk. The filmer points to another person nearby, wondering if that person is also impeding the investigation. As the video comes to a close, the filmer's lingering curiosity and dissatisfaction with the situation continue to underscore the tension between them and the Pinellas County Sheriff officers.